timelines and all that.
Oh
But
yeah, your theory's wrong.
see, okay, I know you're just gonna dismiss it out of hand, but
Oh no, I'm going to
let
back
me.
it up when you're done.
Well, I liked it. I don't care what you guys say about Black Widow. I disagree. I thought it was great. I'm not sure why you guys hated it so much.
That this is going to be
Um,
Charles's multiverse of madness. Hav Charles and Caesar talk comics at the movies. Hi there, and welcome to Hav and Charles Talk Comics. We have a very special episode today. It's a Black Widow episode, and as we said before, if you listen to episode 7, if you listen to episode 6, we brought our friend Caesar Akala aboard to join Hav and I to discuss the new Black Widow movie. Hi, Hav. Hi, Caesar. How y'all doing?
I'm
Gentlemen,
good.
it's
How are
good
you
to talk to
doing?
y'all.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, we're gonna be all over each other.
And if it works any way that it's been working so far, we're going to be all over each other, and I'm the one that's going to be louder.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
just a
in
loud
all
talker.
likelihood.
That I am a loud talker. This is a truism. Yes. So Caesar, welcome aboard.
Thanks, guys. I've enjoyed the last. I guess this is so. What 5 episodes have come out already?
That's correct. 5 episodes.
I've enjoyed them. It's not just because you guys are old friends that I've had these conversations with 1,000 times, but it's actually very cool to listen to y'all talk about this in a way that sometimes we've never gotten into because y'all are introducing me to new things that I haven't read comics in probably 10 years. It's just been something that I kind of drifted away from. And so, like Black Hammer, I knew nothing about that. The Flintstones, only knew about the cartoon. So listening to Hav go on about what the undertones of it were, it was really interesting. So I've enjoyed listening to what you guys have put out so far.
Cool, dude. Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate it. And same. I mean, I'm not reading as much as I used to at all. And so Charles introducing me to new stuff has been awesome because so far he has not made a bad recommendation. Charles would probably differ as to my recommendations to him on some of this stuff since my stuff is a little older, but it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad you're liking it, and I'm glad hopefully some other folks are liking it too.
I'm just glad people are willing to listen to me talk about comics for once. It's always been a secret little thing. I think Hav and I talked about that. What was it? The very first episode. We
Yeah.
junior high, we didn't talk about it. Caesar and I didn't ever talk about it in college together. I mean, I think we had one conversation about comics. I slightly remember
Um,
that.
I don't really remember, but yeah, it wasn't something that I was shouting from the rooftops. And it wasn't, I mean, it definitely was that thing of it wasn't a cool thing to be into. But at the same time, it was just one of those things like I didn't know who was into it. And since I wasn't going to bring up the topic, you kind of just sat in your little empty space and didn't really know who was into it. And the only people that I could talk to about it were from the comic shop that I would buy from. And, that's not always the easiest conversation just because when you're into something, but you're talking to somebody who's super duper into something, it doesn't always go over real well, or, it's just kind of feeling like you're, talking to a grad, PhD candidate when you're, barely getting through junior high.
That reminds me of a story that it was at a party at James's, and I was talking to Troll. Elaine and I were talking to Troll, and he mentioned that what I needed to do to meet women was to go do things that I enjoyed doing, and that women that would be interested in the same thing would be there. And Elaine, without any prompting, goes, "But the guys at the comic book store are creepy."
Ha!
Yeah, yeah, they were.
So that cracked me up. Um,
Well, creepy, and also like going back to what we were saying, Caesar. Right, when I was in junior high, which was kind of my high point of buying comic books, I was always the youngest kid person that felt like in the comic book store that was there on a regular basis, and so everybody else there was in high school or young adults, and probably would have been kind of weird for them to like start engaging in a conversation with a middle schooler, and I wasn't going to be the one to say, "Hey, I want to talk about this latest, Cosmic Odyssey limited series that DC's put out here." It just wasn't something that was happening. And then the only other kid in junior high I knew, we talked about comics, but then we kind of didn't hang out very much in high school. And then as nerdy as it is to say this, I was on the debate team in high school. and still didn't share with anybody that I was still reading comic books. Very, more than a few years into high school. Other debaters were into Star Trek, Star Wars, sci-fi stuff, other quote unquote geeky nerdy stuff. But I never was like, hey, by the way, on top of everything else, I'm a big comic book guy. You read Avengers? You read Justice League? No, it wasn't. I just never crossed my mind to bring that up.
Well, and it also really depends upon what it is you're into, because if you're, if you're not into Batman, but somebody's super into Batman, you're not on the same page, and so there's not enough to talk about. And then, I've always been, since I was got it when I was a kid, and then when I picked it up again in high school, X-Men, and that's always been my thing. And so, like, it's a vast universe, but I was never into DC. And so those conversations just never went anywhere. The only thing I really ventured out into was Image Comics when it first launched, and never got super into it, but there were some guys that I worked with that got me reading a few of the titles. And so, we talk about some of that, but I also didn't understand maybe like the backstories of a lot of these comics, because I came in, there was a big gap in my reading, and then, didn't know a lot of the backstories for the characters. And so, like, there's a big learning curve that you bridge over time, but it's just one of those things, is like finding people who are into the things you're into, and it doesn't degenerate into a, no, Superman's the greatest ever, no, it's Captain America, no, it's Wolverine, and all that. And so, like, I lost my flavor, desire to have those conversations pretty quickly, just because it was like, dude, you're arguing about something that's impossible to really settle. So, and I'm sure Debate Hoff loved those conversations then.
No, you know what? No, I didn't. I liked actually just talking about what you liked, what you didn't like. But if I wasn't gonna, Uncanny X-Men wasn't your bag, or DC or Justice League wasn't your thing. Okay, I wasn't really into it to debate and Superman, Silver Age Superman could kick Hulk's ass, or whatever. I could care less about those conversations.
Well, it's what Stan Lee says. Who wins a fight between superheroes? Whoever the writer wants to.
Yeah, for sure.
I've always said it's whoever's comic it's in. Because if Cap and Spider-Man fight in a Spider-Man comic, Spider-Man wins. If they fight in a Captain America comic, Cap wins.
Yeah,
True.
And that's one of the conversations that when, even now with the movies coming out, when somebody says, oh, that would never happen, so-and-so, would do this. And I'm like, dude, there's a screenwriter, and they're the ones who figured all this stuff out, and that's why it happens, and that's why it's possible. So please, for the love of God, stop yelling at me that, Spider-Man wouldn't do that, or Captain Marvel would do something different. I don't know, man. I didn't write the script.
I do like the fact that not only do the screenwriters of Avengers Endgame not know how time travel works in the Marvel Universe, they have made it much more clear with the Loki that they don't know how time travel works in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, I was reading something that Kevin, is it Feige? Feige, and that he was having to explain, like, this is how it goes. And, like, it got real super confusing in their meetings, and writers were walking out going, I don't really understand, what he just said. And, I mean, it's a hard thing because, I don't know what the rules are, but, you've got a bunch of different people interpreting it in different ways,
Mm-hmm.
and then trying to keep track of how the universe works. It's a huge job, and kudos for them for everything that they've done. It would make my head explode if I had to be the one in charge of all that.
Feige's done an incredible job with that. Just amazing.
Well, time travel just makes my head hurt in general. And everybody, but going like, who's going to win a fight? Well, whoever the writer wants to. Time travel is going to work however the writer wants it to work. They can make the rules to their benefit.
Because it's not really time travel. It's
But when you've got so many different writers having to construct this universe, and that's one of the things that, if we can start moving towards the movies, that's driven me insane about, like, the X-Men movies. You had writers who just didn't either care for the source material or just wanted to reinvent something. And so you had just different elements from different things, and it wasn't cohesive. So what Marvel's done is trying to build this universe that works together and that you have crossover. It's an incredible feat what they've achieved, and then to keep going, it's going to be even harder. But I respect them for it because it's just driven me crazy over the years that, look at the first X-Men, and you've got Sabretooth, that version of Sabretooth. And then the version of Sabretooth in the Wolverine, was it whichever the Wolverine movie was, with
Liev
I
Schreiber.
cannot think of the guy. Yes. And so they're entirely different things. Now whatever when they bring them into the MCU, what's that going to look like? And it was funny, Red Guardian in the movie, like there's one scene where he's kind of leaping, and I thought he would make a great Sabretooth. In that
Oh,
moment,
you're
he
right.
looked like Sabretooth, and I was like, they wasted that actor David Harbour on that role.
The Crimson
you know,
Dynamo.
yeah, and so it's things like that now you're building that cohesive universe. It's so much more difficult, but what they've done is super impressive, and I've really enjoyed what they've done since the first Iron Man. I remember going to the theater and thinking, okay, keep your expectations low. It's not going to be that great. The X-Men movies let me down, Fantastic Four, but that coming out of Iron Man, I was like, holy crap, that is it right there. That was so much fun. I think I went and saw it the next day again because I was so excited for what they'd accomplished.
Well, and it goes to show what having somebody like Kevin Feige over, I mean, not that he's directing and writing, but just having that overarching vision, control, and something I didn't know. Speaking of the X-Men movies, I know I'm a big Uncanny X-Men from back in that time period, of course, Claremont. So when X-Men came out in 2000, I want to say,
Yeah, that's about right.
and so X-Men X2 good, but also I didn't know this. Kevin Feige was like an associate producer on those or some such. And then I think after X2 he left. Then you had all this, then you had the weird one with the kind of the Dark Phoenix thing with the original cast, and you just could tell whatever cohesiveness, whatever you want to call it, over the X-Men kind of fell apart. And then you just got all these different iterations, and I enjoyed X-Men, the one with I'm blanking on the names now, with McAvoy, that first
Oh,
one.
First Class.
First
First
Class was
Class.
excellent.
I enjoyed that one, for example. I enjoyed Days of Future Past, but God, the last one with Dark Phoenix
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse was a rough watch
But
at
but but
times.
but not as rough as Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
No, no. So,
That
but hey, before
oh
go ahead.
oh well, I was just gonna say that Dark Phoenix almost killed comic book movies.
Yeah,
They
single-handedly.
almost had to go. Yep, we're done now. We sorry.
Hey, before we get into it, I wanted to also point out. I think Caesar, you mentioned this before. You worked at a comic book shop for a point in time, correct?
I did. Probably less than a year. It's a weird experience. It's just like it was just an opportunity. The guy who ran it, and I'd rather not say which one it was, but it was, he needed somebody. I was available, and so I was there, and just meeting the people. Like some people super super cool. Most of the people were super cool, and they're excited and they want to talk comics, and I'd be like real in over my head. And I was probably 22 around that time, and real in over my head when they'd start telling me about this book and this artist and everything. I'm like, I have no idea what that is, and they're like, it's over there. You should go read that. Like they're pointing to the racks, and then so it gave me the opportunity to read a few different things. But yeah, the people who were just like super super into it. It was just like, okay, like I don't know what to do with everything you just told me, but hey, I'm really happy that you're super into this.
Speaking of reading comics, and I'm contractually obligated to do this with any guest by our sponsor. Do you have a Dallas Library card?
I'm sorry, you're cutting out. I can't hear anything you're saying.
Oh my gosh. I'm afraid we're going to have to cut this short. Only people with Dallas Library cards. Actually, that's not true because Hav's been on this, started this podcast without a Dallas Library card. So I guess I can allow it. You really should get a library card. You get free comics. It's free, yo.
Yeah, no. There's not a lot of time right now for extracurricular reading, so
I feel you.
yeah. But no, I do support the library. It's a super neat place. You guys should all go get books over there.
That is a ring endorsement if I ever heard one, ladies and gentlemen. There you go.
Hey, look, when Heather takes her daughter, I'm real super excited about it. Do I go? No, absolutely not. But I support them in this.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure I still have a book from like 1985 or something like that, and I'm just afraid to go in there because I don't really know what they're going to do to me.
Well, good news. They have they no longer fine. You just have to return it, and then you can reactivate your library card.
There you go.
That sounds like a lot of effort.
I mean,
That's a
there's
lot of
probably going to be a light spanking, but at least in this library movie I watched online.
Right. I was going to say it can be a light spanking, but they're open to more severe punishments should you desire it, I think, is your
Yeah, I don't think
policy.
y'all are really selling the library very well right now. So
It depends on what market we're going for.
that's exactly
Right.
true. That's very, very true.
Just on a segue, did y'all hear about the defunct video site that was bought by a porn site, and now it's putting embedded porn videos at the end of videos on the Washington Post and the New York Times and other online? That came across my feed today.
No, I know nothing about this.
Well, now you know as much as I do, but it sounds hilarious. Just like on old videos and old links, because this video site got bought by someone else when it went bankrupt. It's
So
now
they're
owned by
just
a
doing a
porn site.
bit.
I
Is it
have
intentional or is it like
I
an accident?
I have no idea. I didn't. I literally was going about my day and glanced at something on Twitter, and I was like, "Okay, that's hilarious," because no
Yeah.
one seems to know what to do about it. So,
All right. Well, there you go. There's a little news for you of the day. Hey, so the whole point of this was we all got together a few Fridays ago and we went to go see Black Widow at an actual real life movie theater.
Indeed, it was fun.
it was very fun.
When was the last time we went to see a movie? Because the three of us would generally pretty regularly when a new Marvel movie or any comic book movie, but usually Marvel would drop, we'd go see it. When was the one? Was it Endgame that we
Yeah.
saw last?
It had to have been Endgame because that was the last. Did we see the Spider-Man together? The last
No,
one?
I went with my nephew and then with my girlfriend.
Okay,
Yeah, I
then
don't
it
Because
think
would have
I
had to have been
like,
Endgame.
yeah, it was Endgame was the last one we saw together.
Yeah, which
I
was
mean,
what?
that was the first time I'd seen either one of you since Hob. I know for sure it had to have been February of 2020.
And I
Right,
think that's
Charles,
when we
somewhere around
saw.
that time.
Yeah, it was probably the same day when we were at Hobbs' house.
Were we at his house? Was that
Yeah.
Were we at? Yeah, we were.
Yeah,
We were watching.
we were taking care of him.
We watched. What was that football league?
XFL,
Was
Oh
it
my gosh, we
XFL?
watched the XFL. I
which
had
of course
blanked that out, and so did the XFL.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
their
Yeah.
timing
The
was
XFL didn't.
perfect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they didn't make
Let's.
it out of quarantine. But yeah, so that would have been Endgame would have been the last movie we saw together, and like I said, I hadn't seen either one of you guys in over a year. So getting out and being able to see, see a movie, see you guys. Last weekend we got together with a group of friends, and so just like the world's opened up again, and now we've got these opportunities to go out and do these things. And it's pretty fantastic.
Amen. So boys, did you like the movie?
I like Black Panther. I can say that. Right, I'm sorry, I did that on purpose. No, I think I told y'all immediately after. I really enjoyed the crap out of it. I watched it again.
Y'all know my feelings about Black Hammer. It's the oh wait, there I did it again. I'll stop being a poser. I really loved the movie, but I think I told y'all that after we saw the movie.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was like super just excited to see y'all and to see a movie in the theaters and all that, that I came out like, yeah, that was awesome. So, 3 days later, I took my girlfriend's daughter for her 10th birthday to go see it along with one of her friends and then two of my two nephews. And I came out, yep, I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought that I'm not super big on the solo films. Like, Charles, you were saying a few episodes ago that, like, you like the solo books. I'm a team book person. I love the X-Men. I love, when they do the big crossovers. So the solo stories never really appealed to me that much. Captain Marvel's great, Iron Man's great, Black Panther's great, but I love it when they all come together. I enjoyed this one so much because it was fun, it was light, the action was great, and it was just it felt like the thing I needed to see at that time because it was just a quick, enjoyable movie, and like Black Panther was super heavy at times. Like there was a lot of Shakespearean overtones to it, and I was just like, oh my god, man, this is a movie. I remember turning to you, Charles, and going, man, this movie's deep. When we saw that, and then Black Widow didn't have that, but it did touch on a lot of the little things I wanted to hear about, like when she was in Budapest, and like her time figuring out like where it was in the timeline and how she fits into like something in the movie. That are we staying away from spoilers? Or are we trying to go
Oh no, this is good.
chronologically?
This is 2 weeks from this. This will be out 2 weeks from today, or two
Oh,
weeks
okay,
and a
okay.
day from today. So you know what? I'll put in the thing spoilers.
I loved the thing where she says, like her completing her defection to the Avengers was contingent upon her killing, what was the guy's name? The big Russian bad guy,
Hav, that's your
the one
job.
who the one who runs the Red Room.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Uh,
Dracoff.
yeah.
Dreykov.
Okay. So that was like her big thing to get into the Avengers, just to or to leave that life behind, was to kill this guy. And in that process, she ends up killing, well, what she thinks is killing the daughter too. And it's like, that's pretty brutal. Like, this is what like where the Avengers, did Nick Fury say, "Hey, you got to kill this guy so you can be one of us," or just her last mission that she took on to leave that life behind?
Well,
I
I
was real
would.
curious about that.
Yeah, I would easily say that Nick Fury probably would have been all on board with that. In the sad thing on what she'd done in other things and what her father at Dreykov's father, what Dreykov had done to other little girls, you can see her even trying to justify the one little girl for all these little girls that Dreykov keeps doing. And then the toll when we find out Dreykov to her, then she finds out Dreykov is still alive, that she sacrificed one little girl and still didn't save any other little girls.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and go ahead. Sorry.
oh, it was to me, I just talking about themes of the movie. That was just taking her entire arc where she's been working to cleanse herself of this, thinking that yes, it was bad, but I did something good, and now she's back to, oh wait, I did something bad and it did no good.
Yeah. Well, in going to what Caesar was saying, just in general, the MCU movies, most of them anyway, have kind of a lighter touch to them. There's obviously humor, but they do such a good job generally, and this one does too. Yeah, it's light. There's funny moments. The whole poser thing with the little sister
Oh, that was
drops.
great. That was
You
fantastic.
know, when she's talking, and when she's talking to her big sister Natasha about when she would, she drops down and puts the one hand down on the ground and then flips her head back. She's like, "You pose. You're a poser." Light things like that. But then there's, I'm not gonna say super serious stuff, but they very easily segue into some really hard stuff to talk about when they're all at the dinner table, for example, and it's Rachel Weisz's character who's the mom but not the mom, and David Harbour's character, Red Guardian, and it's a family reunion for the first time, and you get really touchy feely moments, and then on a dime you pivot out of them, but it's still incredibly sometimes heart wrenching, but not over the top. And just soapbox a little bit. That's why it drives me crazy when some people say, that's why the DC expanded universe is so much better because it's so much more serious and dark, and then the MCU is just all for laughs. And like, no, it's not. Neither is like that. So both can have their fun moments, and both can have their serious moments. It's not mutually exclusive, one versus the other either. And it's not just Marvel. Marvel doesn't just make Laurel and Hardy Three Stooges movies. They do everything well, and it's balanced.
Well, it's more like life. I always get tired of the, hey, why isn't it more dark? There's light moments in the darkest times of everybody's life. Someone makes a joke in just, and sure, sometimes that someone is me. Okay, always that someone is me, but it's needed in a heavy situation at times. I mean, how many of us have just lost? I make jokes at funerals or after funerals. I've done it. I do it with my family. They laugh. It is a cleansing moment, and sometimes it helps you actually let go of some of the feelings in a positive way. And that's kind of where they're breaking the tension. And I really liked that meal scene because, yeah, there were some light things where they were pretending to be light, and then it flipped because they're not a family. They weren't a family. And when you look at what really happened to those little girls when they came back, that was a horrible experience in Ohio. That, what is the younger one's name?
Yelena.
Yelena idealizes. She wants to live in the Midwest. And the fact that
Well, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
the fact that she put Natasha's grave in the Midwest, and I'm pretty sure she had something to do with that, because why else would it be somewhere in Ohio?
Yeah, I like that touch. And about that dinner scene, it does show the dynamic, or it reveals in her character that, like you're saying, that was real to her, and that was the most real, or not because it's not real, but it's the constructed world that she had that was then ripped away from her, because she's genuinely hurt that they're arguing and saying that it wasn't real, and she's like, it's real to me. And I felt like that was really important for, like, you have Natasha's scenario where she's a loner, she's been a spy, and then she finds family with the Avengers. And then you come to find out through her backstory, she did have family, and she even said at one point to Melina, Rachel Weisz's character, she remembers doing Christmas and Easter and summer break and all those pictures in one day, and she was holding the gift and she was shaking it like she just wanted for 1 second for the whole thing to be real, even though she knew it was fake. And like what you were saying, Hav, was then they go from these light moments where it's kind of this bickering family, and then they're into talking about child trafficking and how these girls are taken. And watching that with 2 10-year-olds, I was kind of like looking at them out of the side of my eye like, crap, what did I get myself into? Like, am I gonna have to explain this, and am I gonna have to explain a hysterectomy to them? And
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
like,
damn,
oh,
that
God,
scene.
please don't say that. Yeah. And so like those things, there is a lot of light in these movies, that it's fun and it's exciting, but they do end up touching on a lot of really deep, dark things and giving depth to their characters. That's something I really enjoy, that you can see, this transformation of Natasha Romanoff from, two-dimensional spy in Iron Man 2 to having this where she's really fleshed out. And you also see that in Endgame, where she's the one trying to hold the world together, as whatever Avengers are still left. And you can see the toll it's taking.
Well, and yes, all of that, and plus the beautiful thing about the MCU is you get her starting out in Iron Man 2, and throughout her appearances in the Avengers movies, in Captain America movies, I guess too, in Iron Man movies, they drop these little Easter eggs, like you said, and then they pick up on them. The Red Room, Budapest, which is awesome. That hey, they probably have dropped a million little nuggets here and there that they don't ever keep on pulling on that string, but it's cool when they do and flesh it out. Like, and now when Black Widow finally gets her solo movie, you get to explore all this stuff, and it made me think too. We just watched on Disney Plus this whole making of WandaVision, and Paul Bettany's talking about the beautiful thing about the MCU and now these TV shows is that it is all integrated, it's all related, and he likened it, well, because he's talking about WandaVision, how they do the whole, every 50s sitcom, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on. It made him realize that the MCU is episodic in nature, and it is one big ongoing storyline loosely. I mean, it's not just one story of one character, but there's these characters that share this universe, and it's you've had beginning, middles, and ends of arcs, and now you're starting new arcs, and it's just super cool to watch. So there's that.
You cut out there for a second, so I wasn't sure if you were done.
No, I was going to say it kind of went dead on my end. I was wondering if I.
Did your Strange Saver come back on?
Yeah, it did.
Moving on. I was very careful on the things I watched and read about the Black Widow in the news, because I saw some headlines on, well, this was great but too late, and that didn't develop the character, and she never developed the character. And I've watched that character through all the movies, and she had developed. She did change as she went along. I mean, just in the Captain America movies, which was as close to a solo movie as she got until here, she actually did have some character development. And that is, as you heard, my rant, well, my diatribe, well, yeah, ranting diatribe about Team Books. That's always kind of been my negative about it, is that there is no advancement of the character in the Team Books. But now you get her in her solo movie, and you can see her change. You can see her realizing that she has a family, and she has more than one family. And then she got to find out that her mom actually was murdered because she wouldn't give up on her, which it was a horrifically nice touch when you get into that.
Yeah, Disney's big on killing parents.
Oh, yeah, Disney wants children to know they're...
I thought it was just the animated movies, but... Yeah, there's a lot of dead parents a lot of people running around dead parents in these things. It's kind of disturbing.
Yeah, Disney wants you to know that your parents are going to die. They're just preparing you for that.
They just play that one. Oh God, oh my God, I'm blanking on this song. Never mind. There's that song. They sing the song Vaseline, but they have another song that it's really nicely melodic, but everybody knows gonna die.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of who it is. No, it's not President of the United States.
Hold on, I'm looking. Anyways, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just thinking that they would have that song
Flaming Lips
in the background. Who is it?
Well, anyways, it doesn't matter. It's either Flaming Lips,
It's a
She
Flaming
Don't Use
Lips. It's a
Jelly.
Flaming Lips. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a
So,
Flaming Lips song.
so what was y'all's favorite scene? Do you have a favorite scene?
That's a good question. I'm probably going to go with the breakout in the prison because that's the scene where when David Harbour's or when Lexi is leaping to get out of the prison and he's in his prison outfit and everything, and he looked like Sabretooth, and that's when I was like, they wasted him on this because he was kind of a buffoon in the movie, but I thought he really looked the part of Sabretooth so well. But then, in that scene, you've got a lot of great action. The white contrast, the snow and everything like that. I enjoyed that a lot just because of the action to it, and then the impending doom of the avalanche that was coming. And they're flying in that beaten down helicopter.
This would be a cool way to die.
Yeah, and that was hilarious. It's like she's, and when Natasha drops down and she does the pose, and Yelena looks and goes, "Poser." That was just another one of those funny moments. Yeah, I'm probably gonna say that breakout scene was my favorite.
I was gonna go back to the family reunion at Yelena's house, not Yelena's house, at Rachel Weisz's character's house, and when they're that scene when they're all sitting around the table, and well, first of all, speaking of funny, him stuffing his body into his old Red Guardian suit and coming out, it still fits, and sitting down at the table in full uniform at Melina's house, and
and the sexual tension between him and Rachel Weisz.
Yeah, he's like, I've got a lot of energy.
Oh my God. And the two girls responding the way the kids would. It's like,
stop now, please. No, and then I know we've already talked about it, but that whole scene, because it goes from light and funny to very serious. When you're right, the little sister Yelena says, no, it was real to me, and it's before she knew that it was all a sham, but to her it was real. So that, and then right after that, she leaves the dinner table and goes to her room to be by herself, and Alexei, the Red Guardian, goes after her and then starts singing her American Pie. Was very sweet and funny, and then then the bad guys show up.
I was horrified at how touched that moment made me when he was singing "Bye Bye Miss American Pie." I was like, oh my Lord, why did this hit me that hard? It was honestly, it should have been a cheesy moment, but I was like, damn, that was really well done. The tie-in from coming from the beginning when she's like, it's my song. And then him remembering it, even though he's, him.
Well, he's letting her know that what they had together as a family was important, and he does remember it, and he remembers this thing about her that it was important to her, and so it softens him as the person, because otherwise he's just a buffoon that says a lot of horrible things, and then also incredible narcissist. Like, did Captain America ever ask about me, or did he ever say anything about me? And he's always telling the stories about when he was Red Guardian, and so it's a humanizing moment for him. So and I'd read something after we saw it that I don't know if he asked for the song to be used in the movie, like that was an add-on later, but he wanted that song, like that in that scene, he wanted to do that because he felt it would be a good connection and it would be humanizing for his character. And I think it worked really, really well.
Oh, that's very cool. I agree. It worked incredibly well. It brought a lot of it together. Caesar, my favorite scene was the same as yours.
Okay.
When you said it, I was like, dang it, you stole my... No, it just, everything you said, and Elena, anything with Elena in it, I loved. She made this movie for me. Just her dunking on her big sister with the poser thing throughout it. This would be a bad way to die versus this would be a good way to die.
You're playing as shit. You're playing as shit.
Oh God, the vest thing was the most wonderful. Just
it's like, it's got so many pockets,
and I added more.
Well, and then then it's so sweet and touching and all that when, her big sister gives her validation and says, "No, it's cool." She's like, "I knew it.
I knew you liked it."
And because she doesn't have any frame of reference for that because she's been a brainwashed super spy.
As she said when she talked about it, I'd never bought anything for myself. This is the first thing I've bought for myself. So how important would that be to you?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
No,
incredibly
that's
important. And then it's she gives the vest to her sister, who then wears it through Endgame, and that's it's a very cool thing. And you're right about Yelena and Florence Pugh, the actress who plays her.
She's amazing.
I've I've only seen her in a couple things, and so I just didn't know what to expect. And I thought she nailed it. I had a lot of fun watching her because it was that pain in the ass, sarcastic little sister thing. Like, I've got friends. I remember in high school, friend whose little sister used to like get on the phone and try to listen in while we were talking. And now that woman's a grown adult, and she's still that sarcastic pain in the ass. But I saw a lot of that, a lot of her and Yelena, and it made me laugh because everybody knows somebody like that, and it was a lot of fun to see.
She was great. They were all great. Going back to David Harbour, I haven't seen him do anything bad. I mean, I didn't think they didn't need to remake whatchamacallit, Hellboy, and I think he played, wasn't he that him in the new Hellboy?
That's him. Yeah.
And that, like it or not, if you liked it or you didn't have to do anything with his performance, because I haven't seen him do a bad thing that I've seen him in. And he was in some weird thing where he played some thespian that I cannot place, because he's like a actor, I think. And it's just funny to see him. It was cool to see him do this kind of really over the top, like you said, somebody said, or one of you all said, narcissistic, just doing it so well, playing this guy. Also, an interview we saw of Scarlett Johansson on Seth Meyers, I think. Scarlett Johansson pointed out, it's kind of interesting. I'm 36, he's 42, and he's playing my dad, which is hilarious. But he, if anybody can pull it off, it's the great David Harbour.
It's actually a nice switch, though, from where it normally is, where the 35-year-old woman plays a 40-year-old man's mother. Or, I mean, that tends to be the more Hollywood thing, or she's 40 and he's 48 and she's the mother.
No, exactly. Julie pointed that out right away, because like the one of the granddaddies of all those is Anne Bancroft being the older woman to Dustin Hoffman, and she was maybe 6 years older than him or something. Anyways,
super off topic, but you guys saw Watchmen last year, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the HBO show, and it was Jean Smart who played, not Sally Jupiter, but what was the character's name that Malin Ackerman played in the movie?
Hold on.
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about. Yes. She was the FBI agent.
Right, so she's the FBI agent. Mm-hmm. Now, a year later, she's in another show on HBO, Mayor of Eastwood, or East.
I've heard it's good.
It's really, really good. I enjoyed it. Heather and I watched it, and Jean Smart's in that, but she plays the title character's mother. And so in a year, this woman looks super, super old. And I mentioned that to Heather. It's like, oh my God, she looks old. She's like, yeah, they didn't put makeup on her. They kind of, touched her up so that she would look older. And just, it was that contrast of like 1 year, what this one person looks like. I know it's a character, but same thing that we were just talking about, just the way she inhabits that character, and then, just does something pretty cool with it. I don't know. That was just a tangent. Sorry. I got excited.
No, plus she played Silk Spectre, by the way.
Yeah. Plus,
yeah, Silk Spectre.
COVID was hard. I mean,
right.
The funny thing about that, though, the character, if I remember correctly, during Watchmen, the HBO special, she was supposed to be like 75 years old.
Oh, really?
Her character.
Yeah, that's about right. I think.
I think that was some of the stuff. So even though she obviously did not look it, but that was the point. She's Silk Spectre, and was keeping it tight.
There you go.
Okay, now speaking of people who don't age, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, the whole thing about Red Guardian saying that he fought Captain America.
Okay, I told you all my theory on this.
Repeat it, please. I forget.
Yes, and you have to repeat it for a podcast because no one else was in the parking lot with the three of us after the movie.
What? I thought in my weird delusional universe, I thought everything I say is always being recorded and broadcast simultaneously. Is that not what's happening?
As far as you know, that's not happening.
Truman. Yeah, Truman. That's what's happening.
Okay. No, so my just theory is, because you're right, it doesn't match up. When Red Guardian would have been active, Cap would have still been in the ice. But remember, he had to go back in time, and we can talk about different, timelines and all that. But
oh yeah, your theory's wrong.
See, okay, I know you're just gonna dismiss it out of hand, but
Oh no, I'm going to
he
back
was
it up when you're done.
okay. Well, but he was reunited anyways. I'm just saying there's a possibility that maybe Cap ran into him when he was
Like he
returning
decided just
stones.
to go to Moscow and kick his ass just for the hell of it.
Well, remember, they lifted that one stone from the '70s jersey from Hank
All
Pym,
right, yeah, yeah.
and maybe Red Guardian was on a mission to try to take the test. Who knows? I'm just saying there. Remember, time travel can work however the writers want it to work, and if they wanted to shoehorn it in there, they could make it so that Chris Evans is Captain America, not Isaiah Bradley or somebody else carrying the shield at the time, ran into Cap and Red Guardian maybe had a thing and a battle and encounter or a thing. Who knows? Maybe they hit it off.
Not that type of thing, Charles. I saw your face on the feed, and I know exactly what you were thinking. No, no.
Anyways, no. So that was my idea. But go ahead.
As I have said before about the whole Captain America, and this is where the writers, when I said they don't know how time travel works in the universe that they wrote Endgame in, Captain America did not go back in time in the main sacred timeline. And I'm going to use that because spoilers for Loki.
Yeah, we can talk about that too.
So he did. There is no world where Steve Rogers goes back in time and marries his sweetheart that starts Shield and doesn't do something about the fact that Hydra has infiltrated Shield. It is a completely different timeline that he
Where
goes
he
back.
ended. Where he ended.
Well, I understand that, and that's fine. Except you know what was also a different timeline? The one where he went and got that stone from.
Again, that time travel makes my head hurt.
I understand, but
So
the thing that bothered me about the only thing that bothered me about the writer saying that he did that was them showing that they did not understand the character that they were writing. Because Endgame was great, but then they come out with this and go, "Oh no, he was back there." And I did like the Russo brothers who were like, "No, that it's a different timeline."
hmm
I just
well,
remember seeing seeing Endgame and thinking, so that Cap had no what was he doing when New York's being attacked?
Exactly.
Like, he's cool with it
Yeah.
because he's got his girl.
Yeah.
and is the awkward conversation he's going to have with Peggy about him mugging down with her niece,
Well, yeah,
in
when
the
she's
future.
born, he's just looking at her like, I need to
Mhm.
tell you something. Yeah,
Peggy,
Uh,
Peggy, darling, sweetheart, I have a confession. Now the question is, did he go back in a timeline where he actually died in the ice, so he didn't resurrect?
jeez. I don't know. See, that's again time travel.
See, this is I think I've told both of y'all before that I hated time travel, right? I've mentioned that to you, Hav. I know that.
No, yeah.
This I've really enjoyed because, as I said, this isn't time travel. This is a multiverse. So they're not
Right.
traveling in time. They're going to similar timelines and they're causing branches. And that's why you would think I would have hated Loki because it's all time travel. But damn, that show was good.
Yeah, it was good.
I have a incredible hatred for Loki, the character. He's annoying as hell. Loved the show. Loved the show. I love where they ended. And again, so we're this will be out in 2 weeks, so this isn't spoilers, but the way they wrap it up with Jonathan Majors, the actor that's going to be playing Kang the Conqueror. I loved his performance. I don't know anything about that guy, but now I want to go find a bunch of his stuff and go see what he's done because just the way he portrayed the character at that time, and now I'm super interested to see what's he going to be like in. Is it the next Ant-Man movie that he's going to be Conqueror?
Yes,
And so, what's that going to look like? Because it's not going to be the same,
completely
it's not
different.
the same person. It's a different timelines version of this character, and so I'll be very interested to see that. But the whole time travel multiverse thing, it's going to make my head hurt. Did you see the thing where the end of Loki and the end of WandaVision sync up?
No.
No, how, what?
Okay, so you've got to go find the video. But when Wanda and Agatha are fighting, syncs up with when He Who Remains is explaining the timeline issues, and when Wanda sucks up all of Agatha's power, that's when He Who Remains says, "We've crossed the threshold," and it's insinuating that Wanda is the one who's broken everything and unleashed the multiverse. And he drops a pen and it hits it hits the table at the exact second that Agatha hits the ground. And so, like, they've got the two clips playing side by side, and so you see everything happening as it's happening. And so it's a pretty cool thing, so that now, going forward, that Wanda's going to be in the next Doctor Strange movie. Doctor Strange is going to be in the next Spider-Man movie. Quantumania with Ant-Man and Wasp, that's going to be, multiverse too. So we're about to get smacked full of that, which is, is that how they're going to bring in the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and all these other things. And it's pretty exciting to see. That's when, because now, being the X-Men fan, I'm excited, like, okay, what are you going to do with those characters that I love, especially Cyclops, Charles, especially Cyclops. The best character ever.
Lies.
Well, not lies, but he was
Opinions.
my favorite for a very long time.
I have to be perfectly fair on this. I have read some recent Marvel X-Men comics with Cyclops, and the things they have put that poor one-eyed bastard through. And yes, settle down, Hav. I know he has two eyes. I have grown to like him. Hell, they brought him. They made him kill Professor X. They made him come back from a different universe, be forward in time, and where he's a young Cyclops, where an old Cyclops I think he just died after doing horrible things in people's mind, even though he didn't quite do that. So I will give you the fact that now Cyclops is good. That shit y'all read when you were a kid, y'all are stupid.
Yeah, I'll
Again,
take it.
agree.
I'm still okay with it.
Agree to disagree.
I kid. I just didn't read that much, and I just like Gail Simone too much to really like Cyclops.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
I have no idea who that is.
She's a comic book writer. And
Yeah, but she just trolls Twitter comic book people. Like, she just loves just trolling, and people somehow still to this day think she's being serious. Like, it's that heat vision that Cyclops has, and just drives fanboys crazy, or drops other things about, hey, my favorite Justice League member is Wolverine. Or, I'm just making that one up. But she'll do stuff like that just to drive people crazy. But no, so yeah, I am interested. Everybody kept on hoping that Fantastic Four was going to maybe come in at the end of WandaVision. I'm not one of those that cares. Like, I'm not one of those that it has to be the way I want it to be, or otherwise I'm going to hate it and make my own, website about it. I know it's going to happen, and I can't wait till it happens.
HavHatesYourMovie.net. I've already got the
There you
URL
go.
reserved, so it's all ready for you, buddy.
I'll give you a Gail Simone tweet that I shared with Hav recently. Would Spider-Man be as popular if he wasn't Marvel's first superhero?
Yeah, and just completely confuse the fuck out of me, by the way.
Yeah, it's because I'm trying to figure out who was Marvel's first superhero.
Fantastic Four was their first and if you really want to get into it, Timely Comics had Captain America,
Or Human
Ant-Man,
Torch, or Namor.
Ant-Man. Although Ant-Man wasn't Ant-Man when he was first Ant-Man, Pym,
Yeah.
but Spider-Man wasn't their first superhero. And
Yeah,
I even warned Hav that it was a trap. I sent him because I pulled him off sides, and with a warning, I gave him the Admiral Akbar GIF.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
that's the kind of mind game fuckery that she plays with, and it's brilliant.
See, that's cool. And again, like, that's the experience that I had working at that comic shop is just, the super over the top, it's got to be this way and it's all this. And, like you were saying, Hop, however they bring him in, whatever the Fantastic Four looks like, whatever they do with the X-Men, I'm excited for it because I see, like, the opportunity that, okay, it's going to be a good movie. It's going to be a fun movie. And, at some point, Marvel's going to drop a turd. Like, it's going to happen. Where that is, who knows? But even the lesser, like, I don't know, what's the second Thor movie?
Dark World.
Hell, even the original Thor, the first Thor movie, I'm not crazy about.
Yeah.
And, it's still, I've gone back and watched it, and it's still a good movie. I'm just not super crazy about it. So, wherever they lead all these things with the multiverse and all these characters that they're now able to bring in, and then, what are the crossovers going to be? Will the X-Men pop up in one space and then, get their own movie, or how are they going to be introduced? I look forward to all that. That's exciting to me.
I think the great thing that Marvel has done with their comic book movies is in the past when people said, well, you can't make a good comic book movie, it's because they would license a property, they would get a director that didn't really like comic books or care about comic books that would make their version of a movie that didn't have anything to do with that character.
Yeah.
Whereas with Feige, he's put some constraints, and there have been complaints from some of the directors that they've asked to work with him. They're like, well, they're giving me too many. They want me to do too much, and this is my vision. And it's like, well, it is your vision. We're letting you play. Because don't tell me they didn't let Gunn, who said they put more constraints on him than DC did with Suicide Squad, but he didn't have to take all of Feige's notes. And I know they let him run pretty wild with Guardians of the Galaxy. Because what he came up with was probably not right in the wheelhouse of what they expected, because that thing was awesomely out of this world. Did that make sense? You're looking at me like that.
Yeah, no, well, they didn't know, I think I've said this before, maybe even a couple times on the podcast, Charles. Guardians of the Galaxy, when they announced that they were going to do the movie and James Gunn was going to do it, and I told somebody I was talking to, like, if they can pull this off, it's going to be great. And they're going to be able to do whatever the hell they want to going forward. And sure enough, it was awesome. And maybe you're right. Maybe they did give Gunn a lot more freedom, because it was very much, if people didn't know who Iron Man was before that came out with Robert Downey Jr., nobody knew who the hell Guardians of the Galaxy were.
I had no idea about Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, it was
so
far removed from, and then I went and looked it up, and then, having to be explained that it was not, the original is not Star-Lord, and all this, and that was the one that was the first thing I thought that was going to be the turd that they dropped. I was like, this looks stupid. It's not going to be good, and I absolutely loved it. And like, Chris Pratt was that his first big breakout? This is before the Jurassic Park movies, right?
Yes,
so,
it got him Jurassic Park.
He was Andy from Parks and Rec, and that was the other thing, is like people saying, doughy Andy's going to be the hero. And he pulled it off. He does it so well. And then you've got somebody like Chris Hemsworth, that Thor, who's hilarious in a lot of these. And I've seen him in other things where he's just completely hilarious. And I'm really surprised, like, what they've been able to pull off, and the actors that, Chris Hemsworth wasn't Chris Hemsworth when they signed him. They really brought along a lot of people.
Well, that's one of the things they're talking about, a new movie that's coming out. And I forget which one this was. I just read something a couple of days ago, and they're like, well, they really seem to be going after unknown actors to star in these new Marvel movies. And I was thinking, well, they did get unknown actors. And people are thinking, oh, yeah, but Iron Man, he's a known name. Yeah, he was a known name that had a massive problems with drugs and alcohol. And he'd just come off a decent indie film. Or I guess it wasn't really indie, but... you know the one I'm talking. Oh, it was him and.
Is it the one with Robert Duvall, the judge?
No,
which I heard was awful.
No, it was the one that by the maker of The Good Guys. God, that's a great movie. Anyway, it's irrelevant. But he was not.
Oh, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yes.
With Val Kilmer, that was
great.
Great.
Yes, he was in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and then they got him to do Iron Man, and they didn't pay him. They didn't break the bank on him either. It was a roll the dice.
It was a big risk.
It was a big risk on his part and their part that paid off. And so they've never really brought stars in.
They've done a good job of getting known names, but like I think you all have each said about different actors. Chris Hemsworth wasn't Chris Hemsworth. Chris Evans wasn't really super duper badass Chris Evans.
He'd been in Fantastic Four. You can't be a superstar having been in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't know who the heck Tom Holland was before they announced him as Spider-Man.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Of course, I knew who Scarlett Johansson was, but I don't, yes, she's a good actress, but all I have to say is, no, the actors, what's his face that plays Bunny, Winter Soldier? That dude.
Sebastian Stan.
There you go. I mean, they've just done a really good job of getting good actors, regardless if they're a name or not. Look, what's her face? Pepper Potts is the actress that plays Pepper Potts. That's all about how her hoo-ha smells, and putting that in her products. Maybe she was a known actress, but it's a bit role. So they've done, and then
Yeah.
what's her face that plays Aunt May, the great.
Marissa Tomei.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
God, bless her.
So yes,
Well,
every
Best.
you've
once in a
got
while they'll drop a big name.
you've got Odin, Anthony Hopkins.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I've always felt that they've wasted Idris Elba.
Heimdall.
The-
Heimdall.
yeah. And so I mean, you've got these huge names as periphery.
Small parts.
Who was it? Tilda Swinton is
Oh, and the ancient one.
the ancient one. Yeah, and so I'm in awe a lot of times of what they've been able to pull off. Just making good comic book movies that the source material is comic book, but these are blockbuster action movies that work really, really well. And they're fun, they're smart. And then, like being able to bring up somebody like Chadwick Boseman, who had a pretty good run of movies, a solid actor, and then to elevate him to this level. And then, sadly, he passes, but what he's done what he did in that role for 3 movies? Was he in, not Endgame, what was the one before that?
Infinity War.
Infinity War.
Yeah,
1, 2.
Civil
he was.
War.
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
Civil 4 movies. Okay, 4. And what that character was able to become. It's a testament to what Marvel's put together, and I do feel like I'm now listening to myself like, oh my God, I just love Marvel movies so much, and I do. I really, really do. I've had so much fun watching them.
they had Bradley Cooper play a talking raccoon, and they pulled it off
And
because
he
they're
owns,
Marvel.
yeah, and he owns that character. He just, it is just the most marvelous thing. It's the best role he's had.
I saw that
Right.
movie. I didn't know it was him until the credits. I
Oh,
was
right.
like, that was Bradley fucking Cooper playing Rocket. I had no
Well,
idea.
They took Vin Diesel and gave him 3 words, and
And-
made one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, and in fairness, I made a joke. Bradley Cooper's had great roles. That probably is Vin Diesel's best role.
I mean,
Well, but he still has
you
to
haven't
ask for his
seen
line.
Fast 9, so
Okay.
no Fast.
But
9's
he still has to
terrible. I
ask
saw
for his
Fast 9.
lines when he's doing Groot. He's
I
always
haven't
like,
seen Fast
line.
One.
My absolute favorite moment in all the Marvel movies is in Endgame when Thor and Groot and Rocket come down to Wakanda. And it's not an Endgame, it's
Infinity War.
Infinity War. And when they come down to Wakanda, he's like, I am Groot. Captain America looks and goes, I am Steve Rogers. I will think about that. I will have to go find it online just so I can watch it and then have a good laugh, because I still love that little exchange where Captain America is just the way it's very sincere. I am Steve Rogers.
Yeah. No,
That
it's
that
awesome.
that is my favorite scene in that movie too. By the way, Hawk and Bunny comes from Tree and Rabbit. I just clicked where I can't why I call him Hawk and Bunny. That must be
I
it.
don't know what Tree and Rabbit is.
That's what Thor calls Raccoon, Rocket, and
Groot.
Groot.
Oh, Tree and Rabbit. Okay,
Tree
yeah,
and
yeah,
Rabbit.
yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is this is my friend Tree. I am Groot. That's what leads into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, that. Yeah, to bring it back a little bit, I am so much more excited about Hawkeye. First, because we just read Hawkeye, the series, the comic book series, or those few issues, which I know there's more to read.
Hold
But
on,
then-
Caesar. You can get that at the public library.
Online.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're also talking about this app that you can get it on also,
Yeah.
so I could do that. too.
Hoopla. That's what I'm
Hoopla.
saying. You join the public
Yeah.
library, you
Then I'd
download
have to
Hoopla,
read. I don't know,
and then
man,
you
this
can
is a
read the
lot of-
Hawkeye. Or
There's a lot of pictures. It's
Yeah.
mostly pictures.
I actually, if you get deep enough into it, there's one that's just the dog, and it's just
Okay.
pictures the whole way.
Side note: you guys have known me, Charles. We've known each other since what, 94ish? Have
It's actually
Early
93.
2000s.
no, it would've
No,
been
it's 94. It would have been 94.
So,
yeah.
anyways, you guys have known me forever. My girlfriend has known me since we've known each other since we were 14 years old. And one day I made a joke about not being able to read. I just said something real off the cuff, like, yeah, well, since I'm illiterate. And mind you, she's an educator, so she's taught. She's an administrator now, and I could see her out of the corner of my eye just stop, look at me, and I just kept driving. I didn't look at her, and she looked at me. She goes, "Okay, tell me, promise me, you can read, right?" I'm like, I was looking at her like, "Are you kidding me?" And she's like, No. You have to say it. I can read. I need to know you can." So it's been a running joke for years now that I've just dropped. I'll be like, "Yeah, I can't read." And And she's like, finally she stopped saying it. Well, I said it in front of her daughter one time, and her daughter just flipped out. You can't read? And I was like, oh, no,
Oh,
no, no, no,
no.
wait. I can read. I'm sorry.
I'll prove it to you. Give me something.
I mean, we spent hours reading the newspaper in college.
I mean,
Sitting
yeah,
there,
but
so I do know you can read.
I know. She's like, no, I knew you in high school. I know you went to college. I know you run a business. I know this and that. You just tell me you can read. Tell me. So yes, maybe I will get a library card and start doing a little bit of this as time frees up in the near future.
Well, the other thing too that I always forget, Caesar, is sometimes the page numbers look daunting on the comic books, but again, they're comic books. I read a comic book in like 5 or 10 minutes, man. An issue, you read it in 5 or 10 minutes.
And
And even so,
this is what really keeps me from doing it, is because in spring of '93, I was a senior in high school, and I was at a grocery store. I saw the cover of an X-Men comic, and I actually looked it up beforehand. X-Men 19, and it's Colossus, and I saw the art, and I thought, I want to read that. And that reignited whatever it is I loved about comics, and dove full into that, and then like went and bought everything I get my hands on, and then it was like, oh, I can order back issues. So I ordered like 2 years, back issues. I get into something, I get super into it, and I got into X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, all these things, and then I tried getting into Avengers, and I was like, okay, this is way too much money, solo books and all that. So it's one of those things, like if I start doing this, I know I'm going to get right back into where I was, and that's a time burner, that's a cash burner, and I'm not prepared for that right now.
Okay, whatever.
well, we'll see. Hey, look, I'm kind of the same way where it's really easy for me to go down. Hey, if I have this and I want to get this and I want to read this, but the thing is, time constraints are real, especially now. So I just don't. I mean, I have the time to do certain stuff, so I wouldn't worry about it too much, but. At least check out the app. It's fun. It's
No,
free.
you guys have definitely made me want to check out Black Hammer. Like that's the thing. That's the one that, once the semester ends and then I have a little bit of downtime, I want to do that.
Of what we've read, I would definitely say Black Hammer would be great. And when this comes out, the episode that drops tomorrow when we're recording this, we talk about Bitter Root. Oh, that one's good too. That's the newest comic that we've read. It's now, I have looked it up when we were recording.
2016?
Yeah. No. 2018. Came out in 2018.
Oh, there you
yeah.
go.
It came out in 2018. It's still current. There's only like 14 issues. There's 14 issues. Suck it, Hav.
There you go. Look at him using the correct word for a comic book issue.
We're all very proud of your growth as a person, Charles.
It's baby steps, guys. Baby steps.
So I'm sorry, Charles. You were talking about Hawkeye.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm so between reading what Charles suggested we read a couple episodes ago, that Hawkeye series, which was very well done, and then the end credit scene of Black Widow, where Natasha's baby sister is going to take care of her grave and make sure the teddy bear's there, and Yelena bumps into Valentina, played by the great Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Another big name in a very small role.
Yeah. You find out Valentina's going to task Yelena, who is apparently now working for her organization, which is what again? Who is she with?
It is. I don't think she ever said who she was with. It's kind of a Black Ops. I suspect it is a hybrid Hydra offshoot. If I have to guess, knowing nothing yet so far, it is probably some sort of hybrid offshoot of Hydra. Because remember, they got rid of Hydra, and now she's gathering the American agent, and she's going to get her own Black Widow. But I'm very much looking forward to seeing her get corrupted by Hawkeye. Not corrupted, wooed over, because there's no way once they get into
that character's not going to be an evil person and going into the next set of Avenger movies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. She's going to be the next Black Widow, and she's going to realize that Clint Barton is her big sister's best friend in the world, and she'll
Yeah.
know the true story.
Well, then hopefully also, right, the whole thing with at least part of the Hawkeye show is we're gonna be introduced to the new Hawkeye,
The
correct?
real Hawkeye. Yeah.
Yeah, your favorite. What's her face?
Kate Bishop. The only reason I know that is because of this damn podcast.
Uh-huh.
Charles just swooning over. Oh, Kate Bishop. Kate Bishop.
He's
Kate Bishop.
he's got a life-size pillow of Kate Bishop that he
Oh.
sleeps with.
It's not life size.
Okay. I don't know if that's better or worse.
Yeah, that didn't make it any better.
Oh, I wasn't trying to make it any better.
Okay. Oh,
But
yeah,
so-
dude, for some reason that made me really awkward, and I'm the one that made the joke.
Way to creep yourself out, man. Good job.
Yeah.
The
Hey,
next,
speaking
so
of-
Hawkeye's.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say
Yeah.
Hawkeye comes out sometime before the end of the year, correct?
Good question.
What If comes out next month,
Right.
and then I saw something today that said Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel. Is that the next? So those will both be out before the end of the year.
Miss Marvel will be out before the end of the year?
I think that's right.
Okay, pencil this down. You haven't read Miss Marvel yet, have you, Hav?
Nope.
Okay, that's going to be then probably after Jessica Jones. You're doing Miss Marvel. If that's coming out, you're reading it because absolutely love that comic book.
I've heard nothing but good things about it, that's for sure.
Well, that's all I've told you because I remember talking to you about it when I first read it, and it's just an amazing comic with Kamala Khan.
I just have late 2021 is when it's going to be coming out.
Okay.
Hawkeye, the
Yeah,
TV
all
show.
I see is What If is August 2021, and then Hawkeye
No, I
and
know-
Ms. Marvel sometime the rest after that.
The- What if it's a birthday gift to me because it comes out on my birthday, Wednesday, August 11th.
Nice.
So I did look that up, and I know that's coming.
You,
and
you had to
I'm-
look up your birthday?
Yeah, memory's not what it used to be, guys. Just I wear a little thing around my neck that's got my birthday, my address, my date of birth,
Does Julie
You know,
still pin your mittens
my-
to your shirt too?
my name.
Well,
I get
it
notes.
is July. He doesn't need his mittens right now, Caesar.
You don't know that. You don't know where
Yeah.
he's at.
He gets lost in the freezer of restaurants all the time, so never mind.
Anyways, hey, speaking of big names, just to drop a couple other from this. Obviously, the great Rachel Wise. Speaking of people that don't age, because she's just awesome. I remember loving her when I first knew who she was from the Mummy movies with Brendan Fraser back in the day, which I love. For talk about fun movies, and another big name, William Hurt.
Oh yeah.
The great William Hurt reprising his role as old Thunderbolt Ross.
So I want
Yeah,
to
I mean,
know.
all the way back. Go ahead, Charles.
Oh,
No, just all the way back since Incredible Hulk, and then was it the second Incredible Hulk movie, where or it would have been the third one where Robert Downey Jr.'s in the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene, telling him we're putting together a team. Like
Yeah.
William Hurt's been through this thing, for the 10+ years that the Marvel's been making movies.
I do want to know, and I'm sure we'll figure out at some point, we'll find this out, what happened when Natasha stayed at the end of the movie, where he's coming
yeah.
up, Thunderbolt Ross is coming up, and the whole military group is coming, and she's like, no, y'all go. I mean, she could have left with the rest of the widows. And
Yeah.
And then
the
2 weeks
Crimson
later, she's
Dynamo.
free.
Yeah, 2 weeks later she's free. So what kind of conversation did she have? Because she wasn't escaping from there. Now, if anybody could do it, she could do it. But I think she was waiting to talk to him.
Well, and I'm curious now, like, what are they going to do with? Are they at some point going to try to tell her story? Because there's still big gaps in it.
Mhm.
Like, how did she meet Barton? How did this all get fleshed out? And so, is that going to be covered in Hawkeye in some form or fashion? Is that going to be? Is there another Black Widow movie? Is she going to have a early? Is it going to be a
prequel?
Yeah, and so like. Because there's still a lot of room to use that character and her as the actor in it. Just a question of, does she want to do that? Do they want to do that? Because, like I said, there's a lot of space there's a lot of topic to be covered, and part of it fleshes out, her story and then Barton's story too, especially with his show coming out soon.
I would be fine with seeing more. And just so for the listeners, and Charles, you said Crimson Dynamo. I think you meant Red Guardian. Crimson Dynamo is the Iron
No,
Man.
he's saying it on purpose. He's saying it on purpose.
Is he doing that to troll me?
Yeah,
Okay.
because
No,
she calls him that in one of the scenes.
I'm trolling
she
him.
does.
I'm trolling
Okay.
him because it's his. It's a call. Man,
Okay, just want to make sure. No, I would love to see more Black Widow. and it just, with the multiverse thing going on, maybe there's a way to bring her back in some form or fashion.
We got Gamora back.
Right.
This
Yeah, that's
one,
true.
this one. Well, in fairness, your other choice was between a tree and a raccoon.
And a raccoon, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I liked it. I don't care what you guys say about Black Widow. I disagree. I thought it was great. I'm not sure where you guys hated it so much. Well, that said, I know you guys liked it. There are, hey, not everybody's going to like every movie. I do find it curious that a lot of the fanboys that don't like this one seem to have not liked some other women-centric movies.
Like Captain Marvel.
Yeah, but in particular, maybe Captain Marvel, maybe Wonder Woman, maybe they didn't like, Peggy Carter in her show.
Oh, that show was
and
awesome.
I never
So,
watched it, so
it-
I'm not.
it
I only
was-
know her character from the movies.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It really was.
And they had a lot of fun with it, and probably that's why it didn't last. Plus, it was on ABC, and nobody watches network TV anymore.
Is
Yeah,
Agents
I even
of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I
still a
watched it.
thing?
They ran through They ran through their run, and I think it was 6 episodes, six
Seasons?
seasons, 6 seasons.
Not 6
It was
issues.
6 issues in a season, and
No, and I even stopped watching that. That got all weird, and they had an alternate thing too.
No, they had
didn't
a-
they?
yeah, I actually they got really comic booky in it, and it was fun.
Okay.
Because they did comic book stuff throughout the entire thing, and it was an enormous amount of fun. You can also pencil that in that this is a lot of in alternate timelines because it's not really in there, and there are places where it goes out on its own and then loops back because they did do a whole season where they were in a time loop, basically, because they went in time and they did something and then they came back and the Earth had been destroyed, basically. And when I watched the season for the second time, did I watch it twice? Or maybe when I watched it, I didn't really like it until I finished the whole thing, and then I was like, oh wait, I really liked that. It was a weird season of a show, because normally if I don't like something later, I don't look back on it and go, oh wait, now I get what they were doing there, and that was really well done.
Any other bullet points or things y'all want to make sure to get in here when we're talking Black Widow?
I would like to talk about the scene with Draco. Draco?
Dracoff.
No, it wasn't.
It
Draco?
It wasn't Dolph Lundgren.
Okay. Ooh,
Which
That'd be
scene?
great.
The one in his office?
the one in his office.
Okay.
I just liked the whole way that worked, where they kind of went heist movie with it, with having it be Rachel Weisz originally in there talking to him, and then wait, now we're going to go back and show you how we did the heist.
Yes, very Ocean's 11. Very.
Yeah, or Mission Impossible.
Well, it just
Yeah.
any spy movie, any heist, when you have to, you have to trick them, and they did a really good job on that. And the olfactory sense that when he's talking about the pheromones, and you can't do that, and then she goes into pure Black Widow and gets him to attack her, because that's exactly what she's done with the first scene in Avengers.
Yeah.
Her first scene when she's sitting there, and the whole Phil Coulson thing. Can this wait? He's telling me everything.
I'm not telling you
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
So you could just tell it was just that's her character. That's how she That's how she gets it out of Loki.
She got the bad guy to monologue.
She gets the bad guy to monologue, and there's a skill to it, and she's got it. And then he's just punching her and punching her and punching her, and I know we all knew it. I'm like, okay, she's trying to get so the pheromones don't work, and I loved that. Well, you have to sever the nerve, and I didn't do it. And when she slams her head into that table, it's just like, oh man, that was awesome in a
Yeah.
kind of horrific way.
In Ray Winstone, the bad guy that plays Dracoff. I've seen him in other stuff. He was good in this. I just want to mention, if y'all haven't seen Sexy Beasts, it's a hard watch, but it's really good, and he is great in
Is that
it.
the one with Ben Kingsley?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, no, I've never seen it. But I know
Oh,
what
you
you're
haven't?
talking about.
You should see the movie. It is a very, very good movie.
Yeah. So when I saw that he was going to be playing the bad guy in this, I was like, okay, cool. I bet you he's going to do this well. And sure enough, he plays just a great, bad guy asshole. So it was good.
So okay, this is the thing I didn't understand about his character and like what was going on is So he's got widows all over the world. Is he plotting to take over the world, or is he just hiring them out to governments to screw with each other?
I think
And
he's.
therefore, nobody ever has true balance
I
and true
think that.
power.
I think that's what he's doing. I think he's just gathering power and money and using them as his own strike force type thing. I don't think he was trying. He's controlling. He can use them to control markets. He can use them to control other governments. And I
How does
think
that benefit him other than, hey, look at all the power I've got when I live in my little floaty mansion? That what like does is was there some bigger plot that was foiled because now his widows are all going to be exposed and turned?
that's a good question. Now I have to watch it again and think about that.
I mean, I saw it a second time, and it still never occurred to me. Like,
What's
what
the
exactly?
point?
Like, yeah, he had all this power. What was he doing with it? What was the end game? What was it? Just
It's
who was
Power
who
for
was he
power's sake.
selling these women to overturn governments? And
well, it costs a lot of money to keep a floating palace. So
well, yeah, I mean, mine's pretty expensive, and we've had to cut off on the air conditioning during the summer. But still, how do you do these things? And his big villainous monologue didn't it really it never explained to I never caught the part where he says, and this is what I'm going to do with all this.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think they really did. Just I think maybe it's just power for power's sake because he's just not a good person. I guess I don't know.
that is a very
Well,
good question. Now I'm gonna have. I legitimately
plot
gonna
hole.
have to think. Damn it.
I don't know if it's a plot hole. Maybe it's just something that we missed. But
Yeah, well, that
uh,
I don't know if I missed it. I was more on the family dynamic and the action
yeah, I
to
mean,
really get into
why
that. Yeah,
Thanos does what he does. You know why
yeah.
the is it the Dark Elves in Thor's second movie? Like you
Hmm.
know why they're doing what they're
Yeah.
doing. I just didn't catch
Why
it
is
with
he?
this guy.
I do think it just has to do with that that's what he's always done. I mean, that was his role in Russia, was to run the Widow program, and as Russia broke down, he still runs it. He just runs it for himself.
Hmm.
Ah, that's a
It
good point.
it like a perpetual motion kind of thing. It's what I do. I've got it. I have this ability to control these women, and I can make an enormous amount of money. It's more of a crime syndicate than it is anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
So,
Yep.
Well,
Hobbs said,
when are the? Go
power or
ahead.
money, power and money.
I was going to mention one other character we didn't talk about. The guy that plays, well, the character that gets Natasha her stuff and her Winnebago and her
Yeah.
planes and
Who
helicopters.
who is that guy?
Yeah, really good actor. I looked him up. O.T. Fagbenle. I don't know how you say it. Fagbenle. O.T.
But does he have a
Fagbenle,
place in the
maybe.
Marvel universe already, or
Rick
is he
as
like
Rick.
an?
Well, they say Rick. I don't think they ever say his name, do they? But in this thing I'm reading is that he's Rick Mason.
Yes, he has a
Uh,
place in the Marvel universe. I forget what I read about it, but he is an actual supplier of things, and he is a character that's throughout the Marvel universe. Hobbs
but
got something pulled up.
yeah, I mean, not much more than that,
Okay.
really, that I'm reading about. Just like you said, he's just a dude that gets stuff for people. He's kind of a fixer, supplier for hard to get stuff to people that are wanting to stay under the radar, maybe. Very, like he is in this thing. It was interesting because obviously you could tell there was history between them. You could tell he liked Natasha, and I just thought he was one of those where it's a pretty bit part that was done really well. I thought it was a cool chemistry between the two of them. That again, if you wanted to see more, maybe
Yeah.
that'd be something to see more of.
I could see him appearing in Hawkeye.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
There you go. Well, yeah, there you go.
And
Because
I
Yelena,
still have not had. I've never had this question answered. Who makes their uniforms? Like
the dude on the
in
Upper East
Endgame, he
Side.
goes. Hawkeye has his thing that maybe Shield gave him, and then Tony Stark outfitted him with their stuff for when they went time traveling. But when he goes Ronin in Endgame, who makes that costume for him?
He's really good with the, he's really good with
He's a
thread
seamstress.
and needle.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys were. I was listening to, I guess, episode 5, and you guys mentioned Edna from The Incredibles.
Yeah.
No capes, and yeah, like that was. At least there's an explanation there, but in the Marvel universe, it's like, where do these costumes come from when they're solo people?
there are in some of the comics I've read. There are some people that make costumes for them. Spider-Man made his
Tony
own
Stark?
costume. Well, no.
Okay.
In the comics, Spider-Man made his own costume.
But I'm talking about in the movies.
Yes.
Like, I would like an explanation because
Yeah.
at some point you're going to have, solo person that has, this kick-ass costume. Like, where'd you get that? Like,
That was kind of though, and let me say this: I like the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. I don't like the focus on Tony Stark in the Spider-Man movies. That everything Peter gets is because of Tony Stark. Because the whole point of Spider-Man and all the comics is that boy ain't got nothing, and he's out
Well,
there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
He's just out there, and then but here's Tony Stark, and here's a magic suit, and keep it. But so that's just my Spider-Man rant. I may have done this on another podcast.
Well, I was hoping you're going to say that you think the Spider-Man movies should focus way more on Aunt May, Marissa Tomei, which of course I would be all for.
Well, I would not mind a solo Aunt May movie.
Yeah.
do you
So there
guys
you go.
just want to review a few of her movies? Like, we'll just do a podcast for that.
So speaking of my cousin Vinny,
Yeah. Anyways. No, anything? Let's see. I don't think I got any other bullet points or thoughts on the old Black Widow movie. You guys?
No, I thought it was great. I'm looking forward to. I will probably see it again in the theater at some point in the next couple weeks. But like, I'm looking forward to what's coming up next. Spider-Man next, or is it Eternals?
both of them are coming up by the end of the year. I think Eternals is next, and then Spider-Man is after that, but I'm not 100% sure. Hob is
Eternals are November.
Right.
okay.
So,
Then
okay, what I've got here is Eternals 2021, Doctor Strange 2022, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
How do you say it? Is
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi?
Yeah,
That's
that's
September.
coming out in September.
September
that's
3rd.
Right.
I knew there was.
Eter-
I'm actually looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Eternals, November
Yeah, I don't
5th.
know anything about him.
I know a little bit about him. I've read some stuff on Marvel Unlimited, and when I saw the trailer, I was like, yeah, that could be a lot of fun.
Shoot. So
Okay,
here's
so-
the thing. Spider-Man No Way Home,
Is that next year?
December 17th this year.
Okay.
Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness, March 25th next year, 2022. Thor: Love and Thunder, May 6th, 2022. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, July 2022. The Marvels, November 11th, 2022. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, February 2023. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, May 2023. And then the last one on this, Fantastic Four to be announced, director John Watts. That's all I
Okay,
got
so
on
we're
that.
looking at probably end of 2023 is probably what they're looking at.
To start bringing in some of those other, yeah,
Well,
we're looking all the way into late 2023.
Well, actually, though, with what I have got to assume, since Loki is over and we're splitting timelines already, we're going to start to see leakage in possibly in some of these movies before we get to Quantum. What you said, Quantum. You said November was Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, right?
No, March next year.
It's March of next year.
Yeah,
Okay.
Eternals
Strange.
is
Oh,
November.
Eternals. Okay.
Yeah.
Eternals.
Eternals and is supposed to be November, and so I'm assuming Spider-Man's in December.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's 9
Wow.
movies they already have planned, guys. That's
Well-
amazing to me.
Well, and that's also, I mean, things that had to get pushed back because of
Yeah.
COVID. So,
Right.
We're not looking at, and sadly, this makes me sad that, we won't see an X-Men movie probably until 2024, 25.
right.
somewhere in that
I would
ballpark.
guess.
Well,
you're
they
right.
got to get some of that Fox stank off of it.
Well, I mean, I'm still waiting for it. I'm still excited for it.
I know, and you should be. Cyclops
it's-
in all his glory.
So excited. A lot of yellow spandex. It'll be awesome. But yeah, I mean, so I'm in for Shang-Chi and Eternals, depending when Spider-Man comes out, I'm in for doing another one of these.
Awesome.
Yes,
Me too.
absolutely. I guess, and on that note, we should probably wrap this up. We've kept both of y'all so long. Us, together.
All right, well, I just want to thank you guys. Again, I've enjoyed the podcast. I've enjoyed what you guys are churning out. So keep going with it. Big fan of our friend Elaine. So Elaine, if you're listening, you need to hook up with these guys and do an episode because I'd love to hear your take on the things that you enjoy.
Amen.
Get a few more guests in here because it's always good to hear other people's perspective and bring a little new taste of what's out there and see that's how you're going to introduce new people to new things.
Well, and on that note, yeah. If anybody that's listening look, some people don't like the talking and the public speaking, and I get that. But if you do and you want to join us for an episode and have an idea of, hey, I'd really like to have y'all read this, or I'd really like to, hey, email us, text us, call us. We're not hard to find. And then if you don't want to join us for a podcast like Caesar did today, but just want to suggest something for us to read because you read something you think is cool and you think we might dig it, please let us know that too. I'm loving the stuff that Charles is suggesting, but I'm sure other people would have some just as equally cool stuff for me and Charles to read.
I
Which would be
agree.
cool.
I would love for y'all to suggest some other things for Hob to suggest.
There you go. Yeah, because I'm just going to keep on going to the 80s. I'm going to hit that. I'm going to go back to my wheelhouse over and over and over again.
This is going to be Charles's multiverse of madness.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of, just a little bit, some other housekeeping. Our next podcast, me and you, Charles, we will be discussing Alias, Jessica Jones, and Golden Age, a DC Elseworlds combo. So y'all have that gloriousness to look forward to, I guess.
Yay.
I can tell you the Jessica Jones comic is damn good right
There
now.
you go.
So, okay. Well, thank y'all for coming on. Caesar, in particular, thank you for coming on. It's been great to have you here. Hav, as always, it is wonderful. And thank you to everyone out there that listened. We really, really like you. We respect you. Keep listening. Email Hav. Tell him to suggest something good. All right.
Yeah, please. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Digger.